Hello and welcome to Encore, the arts and culture show here on France 24. Here's what we've got in store for you today. Find out what force shapes you. We check out a Star Wars exhibition here in Paris that lets you create your own character based on a sci-fi saga. If you weren't one of the lucky few to check out the Rolling Stones' secret rehearsal here in Paris, we've got a treat for you. The rock gods released video footage of their intimate performance as they kick off their Asia-Pacific tour. And from pashing a pole to modifying monuments, Colombian artist Ivan Agote is here in the studio to talk about his provocative and often humorous work, currently on show at the prestigious gallery Perrotin here in Paris. But first, let's go meet our guest. That is indeed you. Hello, Ivan. Thanks so much for joining us. Firstly, I just wanted to introduce our viewers to a bit more of your work for those who aren't familiar with it. It can be quite unexpected. You like to turn the traditional on its head. Let's take a look now at some of your work. There you go, a bit of a taster there for our viewers. All of that, as I said, is on show at the prestigious Gallery Perrotin here in Paris at the moment. Your work is quite varied. You like to use lots of different mediums, photography, sculptures, performance.
I think art, must be like, for me, it's a tool to explore many things. So I try to don't get enclosed into my own work. So that's why I try different things.
Okay, but is there a common theme for in this exhibition, for example? You've called it strengthlessness. Yeah. Is there a common link between the works?
Yeah, well, I tried, and most of the works deal with symbols or images of power and how power represents itself, how power is shown in the city, is shown in the public space. So I try to negotiate with these big images of power, of authority, like the obelisk. So I try to just modify it and make it like softer in a way. So there is this game, this sort of like small fight against these images of power that sometimes you can actually, you don't have decisions on it. You cannot like make anything as a normal citizen against like these images.
You mentioned there commentary on power and history. You seem to use humour a lot in your work to make satirical comments about these things.
Well, sometimes I don't do it on purpose, but it happens to that, yeah, sometimes some of the works uses humor as a tool also to make reflections about these subjects. It's also because, like, I think in Colombia, where I grew up, like, we use a lot of humor to deal with the situation, which is very hard.
And sometimes your art can be quite outrageous, some might think. For example, the video of the performance you did on the Paris metro with you kissing the pole on the metro. Also, you graffitied a piece of work at the Centre Pompidou here in Paris, a very famous historical artwork by Montreal. Are you out to shock people?
I don't mean to do that. I think sometimes I feel I have to put some questions, and it's not necessarily that I need to shock or I need to be provocative, but I think when you, like in a normal situation where you decide to make a question, that generates like sort of provocation by itself. It's not necessarily my purpose, but the thing that when you find a subject that is important and nobody wants to think about it, when you make a question about it, like, people think that's probably provocative.
How did people react, for example, when you did this?
Well, when I did it, it was very weird because actually nobody cares. Like, as you probably can see,
they don't seem to be taking much notice of you, do they?
They don't. They're like negligent. They don't care that much about other people, and it's also about that. Like, most of the works in a period of time were about that. Were about like how, like, we as strangers deal with other strangers, and how are we close or not to other people in the city.
And you mentioned before that you like to modify historical monuments. For example, you've done a series of works with horses with their riders missing.
Yeah, when I raised some. Yeah.
What is it about historical monuments that makes you want to tamper with them or change them?
Well, there is two sides. From one side is this question about how the cities represent themselves. I mean, how they decide to put symbols of their history in the city, and then also sometimes I feel, like I said, like I like to make questions. Sometimes I feel I need to go and touch symbols and to be like physically, not only like mentally or conceptually, but so the monuments are like symbolic representations of history, of traditions. So sometimes when I want to ask them questions, well, I go directly and touch them and then I make interventions on them.
It certainly does give food for thought. All right, Ivan, we have to leave it there for now, I'm afraid, but stay with us. We're going to move on to some other art news now. And a Florida painter is facing criminal charges after deliberately dropping a $1 million vase by dissident Chinese artist Ai Weiwei in an apparent protest over Miami's newly opened museum's failure to exhibit work by locals. Now, Ai Weiwei has pointed out his own work is never shown in China and says he doesn't support artists destroying other artists' work. Ivan, what do you think? You've modified some other artists' work yourself, as we mentioned before, that painting at the Centre Pompidou. How would you feel if someone did it to yours?
Yeah, well, I would feel weird. I never damage anything. I try to I play with things, but I never damage it, like, truly. And then in the Ai Weiwei case, it's particular because he played before with this idea of destruction of something like with a lot of value, like these vases are actually like imperial vases from like
they're 2,000 years old.
So it's very particular. Somebody came and broke one of these vases. Then I won't do that. I think it's funny, and then I mean, probably he's mad. I don't know, but I don't think he should be that mad.
He doesn't seem to be too impressed.
He's provocative sometimes, and I think he could probably understand somebody comes and use his own image to make provocation. But I won't do that.
Okay, there's a line you wouldn't cross.
Yeah, no.
All right, we're going to move on to a completely different subject now. Ivan, just quickly, are you a Star Wars fan?
No.
No?
I haven't seen, it's like a personal thing. I haven't seen any of the films. Not because I don't like it, but it's just because like...
It's not your cup of tea?
Not that much, but it's like a funny for me.
Okay. Well, I know there are many fans of you out there, and whether you're more like the Jedi Master Yoda or the grim General Darth Vader, you now have the chance to create your own Star Wars character at a new exhibition here in Paris. There's also an impressive collection of objects from the Lucasfilm archives. France 24's Catherine Viette checks it out.
Chewbacca, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Princess Leia. These are the beloved characters from the Star Wars saga. And now 200 costumes and miniatures from the films are on display. Even Darth Vader gets a place of honor. Dressed up as their favorite characters, devoted fans pore over every detail.
The universe that George Lucas created is an infinite universe. All that mythology is something that will remain universal and timeless.
Since 1977, when the first film was released, Star Wars has become one of the most successful franchises of all times.
When we examine the construction of the characters, that's when we really understand that everyone can identify with the Star Wars universe.
Seeing the sketches for the film and some of the first scale models, it's easy to understand how George Lucas was able to create such a fully realized space epic.
Star Wars created real stir in 1977. It was almost like a documentary for us at the time. We had never seen special effects that were so realistic, so impressive for a 10-year-old kid.
I think that the objects on display, which come from George Lucas's personal collection, have become works of art in their own right.
Inspired in part by comic books, science fiction, and the great myths of antiquity, the characters of Star Wars tell the story of a grand movie drama.
Right, well, that's all we have time for on the show today, unfortunately. Thanks so much to Yvan for joining us. And thanks to you for tuning in. If you want to check out more of Yvan's work, don't forget they'll be on display here in Paris at the prestigious Galerie Perrotin until the 1st of March. Before we go, though, we've got a special treat for you. Last week, the Rolling Stones held rehearsals here in the French capital ahead of their Asia tour. Less than 30 people got the chance to see the rock gods in action in an intimate setting. But if you missed out, fear not. They've now released a clip from those rehearsals of their classic 1980s single, She's So Cold, and we're going to leave you with images from that now. Don't forget, you can get all the latest culture news on our social networks. Enjoy and see you for more culture soon.